All right. Hello and good afternoon, Nevada. We have so many great organizations joining us today, and we're going to wait another minute or so for more people to join. And let me know in the Q&A box what your summer plans might be or what you might be ordering for lunch. And we are on the same time zone. We're based in San Jose, California. And I believe our team is having Mediterranean. I think it's called Sultan's Kebab. And we'll have like chicken shawarma, some hummus. Oh, someone has Chipotle today. Someone got tacos, enchiladas, pizza, burgers. Ooh, seafood. That's very refreshing. And not sure how your weather is over there in Nevada, but hopefully everyone's staying cool. And we just went through a heat wave in California, and we did have a little bit of wildfires here in the Bay Area. And luckily, a lot of people were safe. And right now we're at a good 71 degrees, which I think is the perfect temperature. But if you want to let me know in the Q&A box what your ideal temperature is. Oh, someone said like 65. Okay, someone agrees, 70. All right, so before I get started, just wanted to go over some housekeeping. And at the end of this presentation, I'll be following up with the email to provide the HRCI and Shroom credits. If you have any questions today, I'll do my best to check the question box and get back to you as soon as possible, as these questions will be saved. I might not be able to address them as soon as they come up, but should be able to give you an answer through the follow-up email. And if you want any further information, feel free to respond to the email I'll be sending with the credits. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and newsletter, and I'll have those links at the end. We're also going to send a recording of this presentation that you can share with colleagues. Today, we're going to talk about Nevada nonprofits and unemployment. Before I get started, just wanted to do a quick intro of myself. My name is Janessa Ponco. I'm the Senior Member Development Representative here at 501c Services. I've been in business development for over 10 years, and I've been with 501 since July 2023. And there's a picture of people bowling. It includes me and some of our sales and marketing team members. Heidi is my manager in the middle. You might work with her in the future. And then we have Evan on our right that does our web development and marketing. And I'm really excited to be part of a team that's been helping nonprofits save time and money that can go towards furthering their mission. And again, we're based in San Jose, California. So we're in the heart of the Silicon Valley and dedicated to helping nonprofits reduce unemployment expenses across the nation. Thanks again for joining to learn more about cost-effective strategies and managing unemployment in your state. We're going to provide a broad overview on how unemployment insurance works, alternatives for 501c3 nonprofits when it comes to unemployment, how reimbursing works. Then we're going to use some real life examples of nonprofits we've helped with our cost analysis. And then finally provide more information on our company 501c services and how many of our Nevada nonprofits have benefited from our services. First of all, I wanted to start off with a little history to put unemployment in perspective. Unemployment started in the US during the 1930s, following the Great Depression and New Deal, where the federal government wanted to create a safety net for workers who lost their jobs through no fault of their own. From 1930 to 1972, 501c3 organizations didn't pay into unemployment benefits for separated employees. Although this saved them money from paying such taxes, employees that got laid off couldn't reap the benefits of that safety net that for-profit companies provided. Now, fast forward to 1972, the federal government changed the law under the Social Security Act, where nonprofits were required to pay into unemployment, but they were given different options in how they pay so that tax wouldn't be seen as an unnecessary expense for them. And unemployment is overseen on the federal level. However, each state gets to manage their own programs however they choose. So throughout the US, you'll see different taxable wage bases, tax rates, and benefit amounts. But today we're just going to cover information here in the state of Nevada. When it comes to management, unemployment rates can be adjusted annually and are adjusted by experience. So let's say if you have a year or two of bad claims, your tax rate will increase. And most states, including Nevada, run as a risk pool. So when you're paying SUI or into the state tax system, you're paying a tax to access a pool of funds to cover your claims. And our team is seeing a lot of nonprofits put more money into that pool than what they're getting out of it. And then these total tax liabilities by employers are often greater than the claims paid, with reserves used in times of recession. And in order to calculate your tax liability, you multiply your taxable wage base by your employer tax rate. And now we have a little quiz. Take a guess on what a single claim can cost in Nevada, and feel free to put some guesses in the Q&A box. All right, I'm seeing 15,000, 11,200, 16,700, 93.75. So we got 20,000, 19,000, 32,000, and we got 35,000, 21,000. And just as a hint, the total cost is looking at the weekly benefit maximum multiplied by the maximum number of weeks someone can claim. And I believe it is currently at 26 weeks for the maximum amount of weeks. All right, and I see a couple more guesses. 13,100, 12,200, 10,375. So the maximum amount of what a single person can claim in unemployment in the state of Nevada can cost $17,802. Just as a caveat, this is what an employer is charged for employee benefits by the state. So those extended benefits that you saw during the recession and extra COVID payments, they're actually covered by the federal government. And the maximum weekly benefit amount in Nevada currently is $657. I believe it was effective July 1st of this year. And when we multiply that number by 26 is how we get that $17,802 for the maximum of what a single person can claim on unemployment. And then the federal government sets the taxable wage base at a minimum of $7,000, and there's no maximum. Currently, Nevada's taxable wage base is set at $43,700. So that means that your organization gets taxed up to the first $43,000 and each employee earns. And then the minimum tax rate is at 0.3%, maximum tax rate is at 5.4%, and those are both set by the state. And then the last thing I want to know is the improper payment rate, which is at about 9.9%. And this is information that we get from the Department of Labor. And this is important to know, as we really encourage you to look over your claims so you're not overpaying for anybody's claims. And although this error rate might seem low, this is money that could have gone back to organizations had they audited more accurately. And here at 501, we help organizations monitor this. And if you are managing your claims on your own, you want to make sure that you're properly charged for a former employee's weekly benefit amount. And there are three different alternatives for unemployment. One is that you pay that state tax that we mentioned earlier, with the tax rate set by the state and taxable wages. Another option is that you can self-insure, reimburse for your unemployment, where you're just paying dollar per dollar for your unemployment claims. So you're basically only paying for the benefits issued. And then the last option is kind of a hybrid of both, where you buy insurance that offers the savings of reimbursing while also providing that safety net. And just let you know, reimbursing is not for everyone. The qualifications that we look at for considering reimbursing is that an organization must be a 501c3 nonprofit. We recommend a gross annual payroll of $1 million or more, because typically if your payroll is under $1 million, especially significantly less than that amount, what you're paying into the state tax pool is probably pretty minimal, and you might not see much significant savings by opting out. However, there are some cases where you could see potential savings. So we'd be happy to look at your numbers, even if you're just slightly less than $1 million. And then we also look at a positive audit from the past 3 years. So that means in order for reimbursing to benefit you, we try to evaluate if what you paid each year in taxes exceeds what you're paying in actual claims. We also want to make sure that there isn't any major disruption in funding for the next 24 months. So we do recommend to stay with the state tax system if you know if you might have anything from like layoffs, reduction in workforce, losing funds, or closing programs where your tax rates may go up with experience. And then you'll probably want to wait once those claims decrease. And what it means to reimburse is that your tax rate turns to 0%, and then the state will bill you only for the unemployment claims you receive over the quarter. It's a great way for nonprofits to save money and be a better steward of donor dollars. The process is seamless for separate employees. No matter how your employee gets separated, they're still going to go through the same process for your unemployment department, which is the Nevada Department of Employment Training and Rehabilitation, the DETR, where the state will determine their benefit amount based on their base period pay. The only change is how that quarterly bill is calculated. So instead of paying SUI, you're now only responsible for charges your organization incurs. And we work with over 1,500 nonprofits across the nation. We have several in the state of Nevada. So you're probably wondering what motivates them to reimburse. In most cases, reimbursing saves money. On average, savings can be anywhere from 20 to 40% compared to paying to the state tax system. And this is really the driver for most organizations to switch. Reimbursing eliminates any concern of changes in the state tax, such as tax hikes that you can't control. You become a better steward of donor dollars as you're just paying for your actual amount of claims than putting money into that state pool. And because unemployment is managed by the federal government, big picture, reimbursing is allowed in all 50 states, best with employers with over $1 million in payroll and at least 15 or more full-time employees. And if you're on the borderline of that, we can still certainly talk, as sometimes there are cases where we can consider reimbursing for your organization. And if you're smaller and reimbursing already, we can still consider you for our services and how we can help you reduce your risk. There are a couple different strategies for reimbursing, and the first is to manage your own program. This can be risky with the highs and lows of unemployment, and you really need to make sure that you have budget for these claims and that your team is diligent with managing, auditing, protesting, and paying claims to reduce risk and to prevent overpaying. Another option is to outsource, like using 501c services to help with the administrative work and managing the challenges that can come with unemployment claims. And then we also have a trust where you can put money aside. The third option is to purchase insurance. At 501, we do offer insurance programs. They are a little bit more expensive than the trust and offer different levels of protection. And I do want to talk about how the state tax is calculated. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll show some real cost assessments that we've done in the past. The taxable wage base is customized by each state, and currently Nevada's taxable wage base is at $43,700. And all employers in the state will pay the same taxable wage base. It represents that first $43,700 of an employee's earnings. There's no maximum and can increase or decrease by any amount each year. And I did see for 2027, Nevada's taxable wage base, I think is going to go up to, I think a little bit over $45,000. And also the tax rate is set annually by the state and is based on experience. So to calculate the contribution amount, you multiply the taxable wage base by the tax rate. So with Nevada, it's at $43,700 times 0.3 to 5.4%. This amount means that if each employee makes over $43,700, a company is paying in between over $131 to over $2,300 per employee in unemployment. And here's a sample form of your tax rate notice in Nevada. It provides us with the information like your tax rate, contributions paid, and your SUI paid. This information can help us determine if we would recommend reimbursing for your organization. Ideally, we like to look at the last 3 years of tax rate notices to get more accurate data. Also, there's no need to understand everything on this document. We're happy to look at your numbers and see if you have any potential savings within your organization. And then we also have our next two examples. They're going to show two nonprofits with significant overpayments, and then they eventually transition into reimbursing. And this is our first example of a human services nonprofit. The taxable payroll is shy of $1 million, tax rate 4.7%, estimated claims around $200 per year. And in this case, we look at a 3-year average of claims. So they were overpaying $45,000. And think of what you can do with an additional $45,000 for your organization. And this is our second example. The taxable payroll is around $700,000, tax rate 3.38%, estimated annual claims around $5,900, estimated unemployment taxes were around $24,000. So they were overpaying $18,000. So for these two examples, they did eventually transition to becoming reimbursing employers, and they became members of our trust. And a little bit more about our company 501c Services. We were founded in 1982 by a former UCP executive. He was looking for ways to save money for his organization. So he teamed up with 25 nonprofit executives in San Jose, California to start the first kind of grantor trust called the Joint Unemployment Compensation Trust. It eventually became what is now known as 501c Services. And then our trust is called 501c Agencies Trust. And we have now grown to helping over 3,000 nonprofits across the nation in various ways. In 2016, our founder sold the company back to his employees. So we're now 100% employee owned. From our office manager to the CEO, every member is committed to our company and serving our members. And our services are valued tremendously, with our company having over a 98% retention rate. And here are a couple of testimonials our members have shared, and you can also go back to these later, as I'll attach the slides in the follow-up email. And this is a clip from our 40th anniversary celebration a few years ago. It includes testimonials from Anika Lund and Mike Hoffman from Start Early, Mary Sue and Michael Eady from CISC, Sandy Leota and Chris Marshall of Baltimore Center Stage, and Phyllis Austin and Jason Penniger from Boys and Girls Club of America.
What makes me passionate about working for a non-for-profit organization is because I knew I always wanted to work for a mission-driven organization.
Our mission is to work with immigrant communities so that they can achieve the American dream.
501 helps focus our service to the community by giving us more time.
501 helps us focus on serving our communities by providing services directly to our HR professionals.
The biggest benefit for working with 501 is really the transparency and ability to forecast our costs when it comes to our unemployment benefits.
They also keep our cash flow steady through claims that are sound and take a lot of the admin burden off of us so we can just stay on autopilot.
We're very grateful for all the support you provided over the last 4 decades, and we wish you continued success in the future.
Congratulations, 501, on your 40th anniversary. It's been a pleasure serving with you for the last 24 years.
And like I said earlier, we work with several Nevada nonprofits. And here's a quick snapshot of a few nonprofits here in the state and across the nation that are members. And as you heard them say in the clip, we help organizations relieve administrative burdens that can come with unemployment. The first way we help nonprofits is through claims management. Our team will help you manage, audit, and protest claims. So when you become a member of our trust, you'll get a dedicated claims manager. If you ever want to protest a claim, we offer unlimited access to hearing reps, And our team has about a 90% average win protest rate. And then when you get a claim, it'll go through this online portal, and you can go into that online portal to respond to the questions. If you ever go on PTO and forget to delegate these kinds of unemployment tasks, it shouldn't be an issue for when a claim doesn't get responded to in several days. It gets escalated and handled. A big part of our claims management is that our team doesn't want to see your organization overpay or get hit by those Nevada error rates. So we can audit those charges for you or prevent you from paying a claim when someone gets terminated. We want to make sure that you're on top of your claims and also have enough support to do so. And our HR services include 3 components. We offer access to unlimited HR consultations. We're a small, dedicated team that can cover any of your HR related questions. So if you ever have like an ongoing issue, you can develop rapport with a person who will support you and manage any of those questions. Our HR services also have educational trainings throughout the year that are HRCI and SHRM certified. And there's also an online knowledge library with our HR services. And with the $657 maximum weekly benefits here in the state of Nevada, our goal is to help you keep that cost as low as possible. If you ever lay someone off, we have our reemployment tool. It's also called Outplacement. It offers packages that can range from online coaching, interview techniques, and resume writing. Our studies show that former employees that use this tool find a job on average 4 weeks faster compared to those that don't use the tool. It's never fun to let someone go, but at least you can give them the safety net and resources to help them secure a new job faster, which in return can help your organization save more money by paying less benefits. And then we have the protection. It's the insurance part of our program. Most of our members take our stop loss protection that helps them during catastrophic claims. Other than catastrophic claims, for managing the general highs and lows of unemployment, we have the trust account. This is a reserve account owned by your organization where you would pay and save for any potential claims. So I hope this sparked your interest, and maybe some of you may want to manage your unemployment through us as a reimbursing employer. If you want to look into potential savings, what I would need from you is your recent 4 quarters of 941s or your estimated payroll from 2025 to 2026 as a reimburser. If you're currently paying into the state tax system, we would need your 941s as well as a copy of your recent 2026 tax rate notice. It would also be helpful if you had the 2025 and 2024 tax rate notices for more information. And I did see a couple of questions pop up, so I will go over them. The first question is, how do I know if I'm reimbursing? So you'll know if you're reimbursing if you do not have a tax rate and you do not receive a tax rate notice from the DETR. The DETR will bill your organization just for the actual cost of your claims instead of like a state tax. And this person asked, what if I'm in a PEO? If you're still managing your unemployment, you will still be eligible for our services, but in most cases, the PEO has their own services for unemployment claims management. Typically, we can't work with PEOs, but if you decide to leave that PEO, we can certainly talk and see how we can help you. This person asked, how do I figure out what my actual UI claims are? So an invoice of your claims will be sent through your unemployment department, ETR, and if you're paying SUI, providing your recent tax rate notice for the cost assessment can help our team determine how much you're paying in actual claims versus what you're paying in taxes. And we have one more question. I'm reimbursing, but the claims cost has gone up. How do I reduce my costs? Should I go back to SUI? So we recommend getting a cost analysis with us where we can determine what would be the best option for managing your unemployment. And to have an analysis to go back to paying SUI, we would likely need your organization's total number of employees so we can estimate that taxable payroll and the claims history. And many states will provide the new employer tax rate that we'll use to calculate your SUI. All right, I don't see any more questions so far in the Q&A box, so I will stay on for another minute or so. And I will send over a follow-up email that will include the presentation slides and also the HRCI and shroom credits. And if you have any questions, this is my contact information. If you want more information, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also our newsletter for any updates. All right, thank you so much. I'll send over those follow-up emails in a few hours and hope everyone has a great day.